So this morning we listened to that song that I played for you last week that I liked so much I played it again this morning. It's called A Tree Falls. It's by Annika Bennett, and the words of that song, if you listen very closely, have so many different meanings. I could have 3 or 4 different talks about the meanings that I get from it. So I'm just going to share a little bit of that today. The first line of that song, she asked, if a tree falls in the forest, won't it always make a sound? And then she goes on to ask, why would the tree care if anybody was around anyway? When I first heard that, the first time I heard that song, my mind jumped automatically into analytical mode, and I start dissecting all of the theories that I've heard about if a tree falls in the forest, does it really make a sound? And one side of me is, well, okay, I can understand if the sound is vibration. If there's nothing to receive the vibration, then does it really exist? And I kind of went down the rabbit hole with that. Spent way too long thinking about that part of it. And then I bring myself back in. I go, well, there's animals in the forest, so they have ears, so they have receptors, so vibration is. So yeah, the tree makes a sound. So I'm back and forth and back and forth.
You might not say, oh.
Yeah. So I got caught up thinking too much. And I didn't realize I got caught up thinking too much until I went back and heard the song again. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I could have cheated myself out of a beautiful song. Fortunately, when Kathy and I were driving somewhere, and when we first heard this song, and that first line stood out so much, and the song was so beautiful that I said, please, Kathy, write down, here's the artist's name, Annika Bennett. Write that down and write down A Tree Falls. And so she plugged it into my phone so that I could find it later. I went back and listened to it again. The song goes on to mention that the ocean has places where nobody's ever been, which gets me thinking, oh wow, just think about all of the things yet for me to discover. That time I didn't get into my head thinking about, think about that deep part of the ocean. I didn't start thinking about what has been yet to discover. I started thinking about all the things that could be discovered by me. And of course, when I talk about being discovered, I'm talking about being experienced. I have so many experiences that I have yet to have. So it reminds us, it's like hope wrapped in faith. I say hope because I have the hope for many more experiences. But if I leave it at hope, then I'm kind of leaving it to chance. I have faith wrapping that hope, so it's like I know that what I hope for is going to happen. She talks about species in the jungle that scientists have yet to discover. Kind of the same thing there. It's like, oh wow, what is new? If I close my eyes and think that I've seen it all, that I've experienced it all, what am I going to miss? I'll miss just as much thinking that way as I did when I was thinking too much. She then states, if they die undiscovered, it doesn't mean they don't exist. Now this got me thinking about how we treat this life. Many of us think that if we want to do something, somebody else needs to know about it. That if we're going to, in the song, she says, I'm going to write this love song whether you hear it or not. If you feel it on your heart, do it. And don't worry about if it becomes discovered. We're going to get a little bit more into that in a minute. back to the part about getting so caught up in our thoughts. When an idea pops into our heads, we do run amok in our brains many times. Many times, and it prevents us from so many things. I had an example this past week of how this happens. I was right in the middle of filming, or I should say recording this series that I'm calling Mindful Moment. It's going to come out every day. And I was struggling. I couldn't get the equipment to work right. Even though it was something I've done over and over and over again, I had something wrong in the equipment that I was using. Couldn't figure that out, so I had some new equipment that I have yet to use that I brought in, and I spent days and days and days fretting over this. And I got so caught up in my head that on January 22nd, I cheated myself out of one of the most wonderful days of the year for me. January 22nd would have been my youngest son's 35th birthday, and I usually spend that day almost immersed in memories. It's kind of a gift I give to myself. Thinking about times that I had with him, thinking about things that he used to do, thinking about him with his little hat running around on the beach, because that was one of his favorite things to do, was running around in the sand. Thinking about him carrying his grandfather's briefcase. He thought that he was big stuff when he had that briefcase. Sometimes I would think about what it would be like if he was still with me, if he was still here. But it's a beautiful gift that I give to myself every year, and I do it intentionally. It's not that day makes me think of him when other days don't, because I think of him every day. It's just that that's a gift that I give myself. Well, I got so caught up in thinking about stuff that it wasn't till very near the end of the day that I went, I just cheated myself out of all this stuff. I got stuck in my thoughts. I got stuck in the material world. I was not present, because I think had I been present, I would have figured out that issue pretty quick. But it kept me pulled away from what was important to me. It kept me pulled away from consciousness and mindfulness, the things that serve my well-being. So I challenge you to think of a time that the same has happened to you, and be aware of when it happens to you, so that you can stop it. Anyway, back to the song. The song just got me thinking, and as I said, the chorus says that, and I'll still write another song even if you don't hear. The world will keep turning even when no people are around. Those aren't the exact words, because I forgot the exact words. And I'll still love you even if you never know. So what this song to me could have been titled, it was titled A Tree Falls, but to me it could have been titled Do It Anyway. Do it anyway. So often we get trapped in the reasons that we do something. For her writing the song, the reason she wanted to write the song was because it was on her heart. But if she would have gotten caught up in the thought process of, I'm going to write this song for you, then it would be all dependent on how you accepted it. Whether you liked it or not. Whether you approved of it or not. Oh my God, you're not going to like it. I'm not going to write it. I know we all do that. Because if we didn't do that, just think of the miraculous things we would have done in our lives already. And I'm saying we here, folks. I am hugely guilty. This these videos that I'm putting out for this mindful moment, I can't tell you how many weeks went by with me thinking, nobody's going to like it. This isn't going to be good. This is not really a great idea. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I finally got to the point, even before I heard the song, who cares? It's speaking to my heart. It's something I need to do. Now here's what I want you to know. If you have something that speaks to your heart, if it's an idea that comes to mind, you better consider it. Because every idea that comes into our mind, every idea that comes into our mind is a divine idea. Now, I've had some ideas that I'd argue with that over and over and over again. Here's what happens. The idea comes into our mind as a divine idea, and that quickly, our humanness, some people call it our ego, misinterprets it or tweaks it. Many times I've had some brilliant ideas that got caught up in how can I make this serve me. I got greedy. I either needed recognition for it, or I needed to make money off of it, or I needed, the list went on and on and on. And I didn't do it. If I started today and made a list of every time I did that to myself, I guarantee you I could turn every one of those ideas, every one of those reasons that I didn't do it, that greediness, that's just for greed, I'm not going to do it now. Fortunately, I talk myself out of those things that aren't serving someone else or myself most of the time. Most of the time. Those are reasons that I don't do it. If I stop and I remove that reason and I look at the original idea, if I look at the goodness of that idea, I can see that it is divine. It is aligned with love. It is aligned with peace. It is aligned with good. It's aligned with kindness. It's aligned with God. So if I take all of my interpretations out of it and get back to the original idea, it's in my heart. It's that song that I have to write, whether you hear it or like it or not. It is the expression of the divine through me. That's what an idea is. An idea is not what's going to work out in the world. An idea is what serves my heart's purpose when it's aligned with God and good and love and peace. When an idea comes into our mind, no matter what your initial experience is with it, go back to the original idea. Look at that idea and ask yourself, does this align with God? Does this serve good? Does this serve love? How does this align with peace? How does this align with kindness? Now I'm going to tell you something. If you can't get there in your mind, it's okay. Put the idea on the back burner. Don't throw it away. Just put the idea on the back burner until such time that your interpretation of it, that your understanding of it is aligned with good. Because there are, who knows how many wonderful ideas that I've had that I let ego get in the way and I just threw them away. That may or may not ever come back to me. So don't throw them away. Just put them aside. But always ask yourself, does this align with truth? and let your interpretations that aren't aligned with truth fall away, and see where you get. Now, some of you may be like me and you wonder if the idea truly is divine, and like I said, the ego just gets in the way. They truly are. You also need to know that all ideas, like I said, all ideas are divine. It is the ego interpretation. So how do you stop that? Simply mentally or out loud say, stop. Call a timeout. Because like I did with this song, when I went down the rabbit hole trying to prove that I was right about my theories on sound, even though nobody was around arguing with me. So I do that in my head. I have one theory that says, yeah, there's a sound, and I have another theory that says, no, there's not a sound, and so I start arguing with myself. I'm right. Well, yeah, I'm right, but part of me is wrong too. So anyway, don't go there. Just call a timeout. Know that the idea is divine. And like I said, align that idea with love and with peace, with God, and then move forward. Now here's the wonderful thing about this. We think, okay, this is a great idea. Yes, it's aligned with love. It's aligned with good. If this is an awesome idea, it's like, oh, but who am I to bring this forth? Am I stupid for thinking that I can do this? Here we go. Misinterpreting. Because here's the thing. The idea that comes to you is divine. Because God is omniscient. God is all-wise. There is one mind, which is the mind of God, which is us, our mind. Our mind is also part of the one mind. So if it's an idea, it's divine. That's the wisdom of God. There would be no idea without the wisdom of God. There is one presence, which is God, which means God within us, within me, within you, within all people, within the idea, all present. There cannot be an idea that is not divine, that is not filled already with God. The idea itself is God expressing. Okay? Got that? The idea itself is God expressing. Omnipotent. That is, God is all-powerful. God is within you. You are an expression of God. Therefore, the power of God works through you. So if you can believe that God is all-present, everywhere present, within you, I think we can all agree with that. God is all-wise. God knows what He's doing. He's not up there making mistakes and just throwing it out there hoping it works. God is all-powerful, which means that the expression of God through you has divine powers. Then who can say that you can't do it? You can run with your ideas. You have everything that is needed. You may not realize what that is in the moment, but when you believe that you have that power, that wisdom, that presence that is expressing through you, then you know that that idea can take hold and manifest. God is in you. God expresses as you. God works through you. If that were not true, none of us would be here. So let's close today with prayer. And I'm going to read this prayer because this prayer was written by Mother Teresa. And it's titled, Do It Anyway. I thought it was appropriate for today's talk. So do it anyway. People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of being selfish, of having ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. Give the best you have, and it will never be enough. Give your best anyway. In the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. Thank you, God. Amen.